Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shriharas Thakur Ki Jai. Premsika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannathpuri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading 8th Canto, Chapter 20, text number 3. And this is Bali Mahārāja speaking. You can repeat after me. Sa chaham vita lobhena pratyachakshe katham dvijam patishutya tadamiti prahradihi kitavo yata sachaham vitalobhena pratyachakshe katham dvijam pratishutya dadamiti prahradi kitavo yata sachaham vitalobhena pratyachakshe katham dvijam pratishutya dadamiti prahradi kitavo yata sachaham vitalobhena pratyachakshe katham dvijam pratishutya dadamiti prahradi kitavo yata. Please chant. Dadamiti Sachaham vitalobhena pratyachakshe katham dvijam pratishutya dadamiti prahradi kitavo yata Sachaham pratyachakshe katham dvijam dadamiti. You can try. Katam Dvijam. Thank you. Anyone online would like to chant?
Sachaham vita lovena pratyachakshe katam dvijam pratishrutya dadamiti praradi kitavoyatam.
Would you like the chant, boy?
Sachaham vita.
Pratishrutya dadamiti. Vanessa, go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sachaham vita lovena pratyaksha shekatam dvijam pratishrutya dadamiti praradi kitavoyata.
Saham, such a person as I am. Cha, also. Aham, I am. Vitalobena, for being allured by greed for money. Pratyachakshe, I shall cheat or say no when I have already said yes. Katam, how? Dvijam, especially to a brahmana. Pratishrutya, after already having promised. Dadami, that I shall give. Iti, thus. Prahlādihi, I who am famous as the grandson of Maharaj Prahlāda. Kitavaha, an ordinary cheater. Yata, just like. Translation. I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlāda. Again, this is Bali Mahārāja speaking. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I've already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a brahmana? Purport. Bali Mahārāja had already been blessed by his grandfather Prahlāda Mahārāja. Therefore, he was a pure devotee, although born in a family of demons. There are two kinds of highly elevated devotees called Sadhana-siddha and Kṛpā-siddha. Sadhana-siddha refers to one who has become a devotee by regular execution of the regulative principles mentioned in the Shastras, as ordered and directed by the spiritual master. If one regularly executes such devotional service, he will certainly attain perfection in due course of time. But there are other devotees who may not have undergone all the required details of devotional service, but who by special mercy of Guru and Kṛṣṇa, the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, have immediately attained the perfection of pure devotional service. Examples of such devotees are the Yajna Patnis, who are the wives of the ordinary brahmanas engaged in fruitive activities. Examples of such devotees are the Yagyapatnis, Maharaj Bali, and Shukadev Goswami. The Yagyapatnis were the wives of the ordinary brahmanas engaged in fruitive activities. Although the brahmanas were very learned and advanced in Vedic knowledge, they could not achieve the mercy of Kṛṣṇa and Balaram. Whereas their wives achieved complete perfection in devotional service despite their being women. Similarly, Vairocani, Bali Mahārāja, received the mercy of Prahlāda Mahārāja, and by Prahlāda Mahārāja's mercy, he also received the mercy of Lord Viṣṇu, who appeared before him as a brahmacārī beggar. Those Bali Mahārāja became a Kṛpā-siddha because of the special mercy of both Guru and Kṛṣṇa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms this favor. Guru Kṛṣṇa Prasadapaya Bhakti Lata Bija. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19, text 151. Bali Mahārāja, by the grace of Prahlāda Mahārāja, got the seed of devotional service, and when that seed developed, he achieved the ultimate fruit of that service, namely love of Godhead, Prema Pumartha Mahan, immediately upon the appearance of Lord Vamanadeva. But Bali Mahārāja regularly maintained devotion for the Lord, and because he was purified, the Lord appeared before him. Because of unalloyed love for the Lord, he then immediately decided, I shall give this little dwarf Brahmana whatever he asks me, whatever he asks from me. This is a sign of love. Thus Bali Mahārāja is understood to be one who received the highest perfection of devotional service by special mercy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Melitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha Kṛpā-siddha Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namare Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvichesha Shunyavari Prashtate Deshatarane. So translation of text number 3 one more time. I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlāda. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I've already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a Brahmana? So we see here that Bali Mahārāja, grandson of Prahlāda Mahārāja, from birth he was a devotee of Viṣṇu, of Kṛṣṇa. But once he saw Vamanadev, he wanted to completely surrender to him. And here he is defending his desire to give all the wealth to Vamanadev. Although we learn in a previous chapter how many arguments were given against that by Shukracharya. And if we recall the story from the beginning, we see that Aditi, she performed Payavrata sacrifice, and Vamanadev came as a child. Then Bali Mahārāja, he appeared before Bali Mahārāja, and he was so attracted to him. So Vamanadev requested 3 steps from him, and then he said that, why only 3 steps? I can give you so much more. I can give you a lot of land. And then he said, if I can't be satisfied with 3 steps, then I cannot be satisfied with anything. So this is a Brahminical answer. And then Shukracharya, hearing this conversation and anticipating and noting that Bali Mahārāja is ready to give everything to the Lord, he wanted to defend that desire. And he said that if you promised, you won't be able, if you give this promise, you won't be able to actually give everything. You'll go to hell. You know, why would you do it? And he also quoted the Rig Veda. He said that if you didn't say Om, even if you lie to him, if you say something untruthful, and then it'd be okay. It will be all right. A promise is truthful, preceded by the word Om, and untruthful if it's not preceded by that sound. So Shukracharya gave a lot of Vedic evidence. You know, if you not give everything to a poor man, and tell him that simply whatever I have given you, I have nothing else, then this is not going to be a problem. And besides, Shukracharya would tell him that he's going to take everything away from you. He's going to cheat you. He's going to completely cheat you if you give everything to him. And if you give everything that you have, you won't have anything for yourself. Just like if you cut the tree down at the root, then you won't be able to enjoy the fruit that the fruit tree has. So similarly, if you give everything, you won't be able to enjoy, to even sustain yourself. So don't do that. And here now we are hearing after the arguments of Shukracharya, we're hearing the reply that Bali Mahārāja is giving. And actually he took a moment, he took a little time to meditate on what he would say. He wanted to be thoughtful. So he took some time to think, to contemplate. And here he's saying, in the text number 3, that I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlāda. How can I cheat a Brahmana? This will be untruthful, this would be sinful. Anything I can do but not cheat a Brahmana. Especially if that Brahmana comes as the Supreme Lord himself, Vamanadev. So there's many wonderful things Srila Prabhupada brings up in the commentaries. Specifically in the beginning he speaks about how there are two classes or two kinds of highly elevated devotees called Sadhana-siddha and Kṛpā-siddha. Sadhana-siddha refers to someone who has become a devotee by execution of the regulative principles given by the Vedas, the sadhu, and spiritual master, guru. And he might not have a taste, spontaneous taste, raga, for that devotional service, but he's inclined to follow the instructions of the spiritual master and sadhu's scriptures. He doesn't deny it. And in Padma Purana, famous verse, we know that the conclusion or description of sadhana bhakti is to always remember Kṛṣṇa, never forget Kṛṣṇa in any circumstances. And that doesn't mean that I remember Kṛṣṇa once a day. It actually means satatam smartavya Viṣṇu. It means all the time, every single second of your life, we should remember the Lord. Sadhana bhakti, when practiced properly, eventually, as Srila Prabhupada explains, it gives you the fruit of devotional practice, prema pamurta mahan. If we sincerely practice sadhana bhakti and apply ourselves, Srila Prabhupada gave instructions to us, and specifically to Yamuna Devidasi, Mataji, Yamuna. He said that if you simply just hear and chant 16 rounds, if you serve the deities, then this is enough to achieve the human perfection of human life. When they were in London, when they were installing the deities of Londonishwara in London, Yamuna Mataji, she was very talented from many sides, and she sewed the cloths, the clothing for the deities, and Srila Prabhupada really appreciated the service she was doing. She was also a talented cook and a singer, many wonderful qualities. As Bhagavad Gita explains, that simply by bhakti vyabhicharana, by steady devotional practice, all the qualities naturally develop. Simply if we perform devotional service under the guidance of spiritual master, Acharya Upasana, then all the necessary qualities develop, all the qualities of a devotee developed. And then, so this is the first one, this is the Sadhana Siddhi. And another one is, does anyone remember? Kṛpā-siddha. And Kṛpā-siddha is very special. There are some examples in the scripture given. It's rare when the Supreme Personality of Godhead will bestow such mercy upon someone. But in this example, Srila Prabhupada lists a few. First one is Yagya Patnis. Those are the wives of the... this is from the... I'm not sure. This is from the purport. Prabhupada doesn't give a reference. So the Yagya Patnis, those are the wives of the Brahmanas. And we know in the 23rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, wonderful pastime that shows how Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, the cowherd boys, they were hungry. So Kṛṣṇa and Balaram engaged them in begging alms from the Brahmanas who were in, I think, Mathura. They were engaged in performing sacrifices. And Kṛṣṇa and Balaram told them to go ahead and ask for some palatable food so we can have a picnic, so we can take some prasadam together. And so the cowherd boys, they went, and Kṛṣṇa told them to not ask from my side, ask from the side of Balaram. And the cowherd boys, they attentively heard the instruction, went ahead. They found the husbands, the wife, the Brahmins, the Brahmins, and they asked them. But they were actually so busy that they didn't even respond anything, even say anything. They completely ignored them, although they were very humble and sincere. And then they came back to Kṛṣṇa and Balaram disappointed. And Srila Prabhupada describes in the Kṛṣṇa book that in a matter of preaching, we're going to be going to different places, but it's not guaranteed that everyone will give us what we are asking from them, the charity, for example, or as an example of the cowherd boys, the food, palatable food. So we should be very tolerant and anticipate that. If we speak about book distribution or preaching, sometimes the preaching or book distribution might be a little bit challenging and not always exactly thoroughly successful as we anticipated. So we should be well prepared to bear or to tolerate this outcome and not be attached to the result. It's very important. Sometimes you can have a really wonderful big day on Sankirtan, but sometimes you can have just a small purifying day. And that's also great to have days like that. It gives you an opportunity to contemplate and think about how you can better your service and appreciate the mercy of Kṛṣṇa. Many times I hear that when we experience difficulties in spiritual life, if we're serious and sincere, it simply means that we're getting some intense purification. So it's important to be ready for that and anticipate that in spiritual life. And of course, in order to get over some difficulties and unwanted qualities, anarthas, it's important to confess and speak about them so they are not that strong in affecting us. Because if we just by ourselves, on our own, trying to deal with anarthas and not speaking about them, not trying to confess our minds, open our minds to sadhus or spiritual master, then it's much, much more difficult. Of course, that's not the only thing we talk about with sadhus and spiritual master, but it's important if for us it's hard to tolerate, and we want to seriously advance in spiritual life. Another example given here by Srila Prabhupada is the example of Maharaj Bali, which we are hearing now, how I mentioned that he was a devotee from birth, coming from the family of Prahlāda Mahārāja. But then in this pastime, in the 8th canto, we hear how this practice of Sharanagati is exhibited by Bali Mahārāja, how he gives everything that he has for the satisfaction of Vamanadev. And here in his response to Bali Mahārāja, or to Shukracharya's demand to stop, to not go ahead and give this wealth to Vamanadev, he actually expresses this mood of humility and dependence, protection of the Lord. He's very afraid to commit that mistake of making an offense towards Vamanadev. And in spiritual life, we also should feel like that. We should be very, very much afraid to make an aparad towards devotees. Third example is Shukadev Goswami. And Shukadev Goswami described in the beginning of this Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was in the womb of his mother, he was already Brahman realized, and he did not want to come out of the womb for 16 years. He did not want to come in touch with this material energy, Maya, material illusion. But then eventually he did, and is known as this Rasika Bhakta, the Kṛpā-siddha and Atmaram. So when he did not undergo any particular training from Vyasadeva. He just completely renounced everything, went into the forest, and that's it. And then all that Vyasadeva could hear when Shukadev Goswami left the hermitage is the echo of the trees. And Srila Jiva Goswami describes that Vyasadeva was feeling great separation when that happened. And the trees were also feeling the separation. That's why they echoed. And then also what happened is Vyasadeva, he had a number of disciples. And those disciples, when they would see Shukadeva Goswami in the forest, they would try to preach to him the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And eventually he came back to hear the whole Srimad Bhagavatam by his father, Srila Vyasadeva, and became also realized in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukamukat Amrita Drava Samyitam. This Shukadeva Goswami, the taste for hearing was there, and the way he recited Srimad Bhagavatam was not exactly word to word alike, but with his taste. This Srimad Bhagavatam coming from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami was so tasteful. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Nigamakalpa Taror Galitam Palam. And Bhagavatam is meant for those devotees who are pure in the heart and those who are not pure in the heart, because the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam is very important. All the abhadras go away when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, even if recited by someone who is maybe in the beginning of spiritual practice, Kanishta Adhikari. But specifically, it's very important when we hear an Uttama Adhikari speak the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam, even if you alayam, if you are a liberated person, you still become attracted. And an example of Srila Shukadeva Goswami is like that. He is liberated, Brahma Nirvanam, he is liberated in Brahman, but still he was attracted to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and he became surrendered to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And just like the example of if you go back to the pastime of the Brahmanas, what happened later is Kṛṣṇa sent the cowherd boys to ask the wives of the Brahmanas for the alms, for the prasadam, for the food. And they were so happy to hear that instruction. They gladly prepared whatever they could for satisfaction of Kṛṣṇa and Balaram. And then they saw Kṛṣṇa, and it is described in the Kṛṣṇa book in Srimad Bhagavatam that Kṛṣṇa entered their hearts through the eyes when they saw him. So similarly, we can also Kṛṣṇa also can come into our heart by submissive hearing, by submissive and sincere hearing of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is a fact. We see that in the more we hear, the more attracted we become to that great Purana. So therefore, this fruit, when touched by the lips of a pure devotee like Shukadeva Goswami, is more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including the liberated souls. And at some point, the sages of Naimisharanya, they were asking Suta Goswami, how is it possible that Shukadeva Goswami, being a liberated soul, became attracted to this message of Srimad Bhagavatam? How is that possible? And the answer is given in the 7th chapter of the 1st canto. Prabhupada says that this question is completely answered in this one shloka. This is text number 11. Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord that he heard in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the translation is as follows. Srila Shukadeva Goswami, son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus he underwent the study of this great narration, Srimad Bhagavatam. He came out of the womb, and in one commentary, Srila Prabhupada also mentions how when a child is born, how is it possible that he would be expert in something? How is it possible, in whether it's mundane matters or spiritual matters? How is it possible? But here in this example of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, we see that he was already liberated. And by the mercy of Srila Vyasadeva, he grabbed the import of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says that the transcendental qualities of the Lord are so attractive that Srila Shukadeva Goswami became detached from being completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman and positively took up the personal activity of the Lord. So there's so much taste in the topics of glorification of the Lord that it is much, much more tasteful than just impersonal liberation. He realized more transcendental bliss with the personal feature than the impersonal. And from that time, not only did he himself become very dear to the Viṣṇu Janas, or devotees of the Lord, but also the Viṣṇu Janas became very dear to him. So in order to get that taste and attraction for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we come and try to glorify and spread the mercy, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam to others, and come and hear from elevated personalities. It's described in Harinam Chintamani that if you want to become a pure devotee of the Lord, you need to get that from someone who is pure, an Uttamadhikari, someone who has necessary qualities and attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam and the Holy Name. Harinam Chintamani is a wonderful book. When I was traveling to Oregon and we were distributing books in different cities, we would reach Harinam Chintamani to chant and prepare our consciousness for the day. There's many things explained in the Harinam Chintamani, specifically how to deal with the aparadas and how to get free from the ignorance, anarthas, right? So, for example, we have the cloud of anarthas. It's simply described that it's because we're lacking proper understanding of the tattva, the sampanda gyan. And the spiritual master, he is explaining those necessary tattvas, the jiva tattva, para tattva means the tattva of the Lord, sadhana tattva, or the process of bhakti yoga, and also the sadhya tattva. This is the practice of the goal of our sadhana. So sadhana bhakti eventually should lead us to bhava bhakti, to this spontaneous attraction for the Lord. This is the understanding. So in this verse, Bali Mahārāja is giving us, or convincing Shukracharya in his determination that he will not withdraw the promise that he gave in terms of giving all wealth, all money to Vamanadev. Balaram Prabhu nicely spoke about determination yesterday, how determination could be in different modes of ignorance or passion or goodness. And when determination is in the mode of goodness, we recognize the position of the Lord, and we want to give everything that we have to the Lord in the principles of Sharanagati or Sharanapati. So, Bali Mahārāja regularly maintained devotion for the Lord, and because he was purified, the Lord appeared before him. Because of unalloyed love for the Lord, he then immediately decided, I shall give the little dwarf Brahmana whatever he asks for me. This is a sign of love. If we have love, we want to give, we want to serve, we want to make that person happy. Because Bali Mahārāja is understood to be one who received the highest perfection of devotional service by special mercy. That's why Srila Prabhupada gives him or puts him in the category of the Kṛpā-siddhis. So we should all try to follow in the example of Bali Mahārāja and try to depend completely on protection and mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his Viṣṇu Jans, his representatives. That is the sum and substance. Yeah, remembering Kṛṣṇa and never forgetting him, and all other scriptural injunctions. They should be serving of these two principles of remembering the Lord and not forgetting him. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your attention. Would you like to proceed with any questions or discussions?
So Prabhupada gives the example of Kṛpā-siddha. So Prabhupada gives the example of Kṛpā-siddha in the purport being the wives of the Brahmins in Krishna's pastimes. Maybe I missed it. Was there description of sadhana siddhi in the purport? Maybe I missed it, I don't know.
Yeah. Sadhana siddha refers to one who has become, not an example. But
Okay, there's not an example.
Yeah, he just describes what it is.
So there's an example of Kṛpā-siddha, as the wives of the Brahmins, but sadhana siddhi, there's no examples in the purport. Okay. And then there's Nitya-siddha, I guess there's not an example of that in the purport either. Be interesting to see the example that Prabhupada gives of sadhana-siddha. I guess maybe like Narada Muni. I mean, not Narada Muni, the son of a maidservant, because he was doing his spiritual practice, and it became, Narada Muni. So, anyways, all right.
The example of sadhana siddhi is someone who is, as Srila Prabhupada would say, serious and sincere on this path of bhakti. And sadhana siddhi or sadhana bhakti, there's some nice definitions in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I wanted to also read that, so I'll just read something here. Yes, sadhana bhakti or practice means employing both our mind and senses in practical devotional service to Kṛṣṇa to awaken our dormant and natural love for Kṛṣṇa. When bhakti is cultivated or awakened, sadhya, by actions, kriti, there's a verse, of the senses, it is called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana is that by which bhava and prema are awakened. So by sadhana bhakti, which is natural for all of us, we have that, just Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada give an example as a walking capacity. A child will eventually learn how to walk, so we also, by this natural instinct, we all have that attachment, bhava, for the Lord. So simply by sadhana bhakti, by worshipping the deities, avoiding offenses, by serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada, by chanting purely, we can also awaken that affection, that bhava for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And another definition is, it says here, when the activities of bhakti arise not out of attachment or natural taste for bhakti, but according to that orders of scriptures or spiritual master, I guess I already mentioned that. This is called Vaidhi Bhakti. An example, of course, for some people might be difficult, is to be steady in devotional practice, rising up early and coming to the programs on time. It's very important. If we don't do that, it's actually adharmic, and we should emphasize that and do that. Because if we want to please Kṛṣṇa, we should be here, adhering to the instructions given by the founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And unfortunately, if we disobey these instructions and don't do that, especially within the brahmacārī ashram, it's not very good. So this is the definition of sadhana bhakti or Vaidhi Bhakti, given by Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anything else?
I had a question. You were bringing up the point of like Yamuna Devi and then just the process of worshiping the deity. I was wondering if you could just kind of like, how do you properly meditate on the deity? Because sometimes it could kind of become like, without a proper understanding, almost impersonal. Like even for me, I just kind of come and I don't really see, Kṛṣṇa in his, form so nicely. I just kind of come as a, kind of like mindlessly kind of show up. And I was wondering if you could actually talk about like what are the different limbs and how to actually meditate on this form of Kṛṣṇa and how deity worship actually could uplift one somebody.
Srila Prabhupada would say that we shouldn't force anything in our mind. We should just chant the holy name and hear attentively. And then our attraction for a particular form of the Lord will come naturally. And just like the examples of Shat Goswami, the 6 Goswamis, what they would do is they would be very strict in a sadhana bhakti. They would get up every morning, early in the morning, at 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, and they would, first they would do achman, they would take a bath, and then they would chant, or water tulsi, then they would sit before the Shila, like Govardhan Shila, and they would chant a lakh of rounds, that's like 64 rounds, and they would keep count of what they do in terms of the sadhana. So it's important for sadhakas to also just in the beginning maintain the practice of scriptural instructions, Srila Prabhupada's instructions, counting and keeping track of what we do. Sometimes devotees, they journal, they keep track of what time they get up, how much service they do, how many rounds they chant, books they read, and different things like that. But as far as something practical about deity worship, I can't say much because I'm not experienced. But how we all can worship the deities is by dancing. It really pleases Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimad Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when we dance before the deities, when we chant sincerely, and engage others in doing so. We can all say that we experienced that, especially during Sunday feast. If you dance with someone, if you invite someone to dance with you, it's just blissful. We really feel happy, and others also.
In addition to that, I think you should just get up there and put a flower in his hand.
Well, I'm saying that Sankarshan should get up on the altar, in addition to what I said, and touch the lotus feet of Radha Giridhari, start worshipping the deities.
One thing you can do, you can try, is offering prayers to the deity. Like the, Sikshastika's prayers, Nadanam Nadanam, Ainanda Tanuji Kinkaram. If you don't know the Sanskrit, just do the English, but you got to know the meaning when you offer it. Because when you're praying to the deity, you're addressing him as Kṛṣṇa. And so that will open up the feeling that Krishna is really there, especially when you feel more enlivened in devotional service. I think that's an important point. The prayer. The Bhagavatam is filled with all kinds of prayers you can pray.
This is Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi Kala Vasani Krita. This is Natibihi. I guess this is also referring to songs, because the Goswamis, they would also sing different songs glorifying Radha and Krishna, and they would pray. And there are two types of prayers, right? The ones that you compose yourself, and the ones that you repeat after the acharyas and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and Krishna is very pleased when we chant prayers, but he's specifically very much pleased when we chant prayers offered by the acharyas and by the Srimad Bhagavatam, the characters of Srimad Bhagavatam, the pure devotees of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's it's another way to glorify the deities.
Thank you for the class. I was wondering, since you were speaking about how we should speak up about our anarthas, how we should admit our faults to each other. I find that to be a little bit difficult. Obviously, probably a lot of us do. So I make it a part of my prayer. I obviously pray about it a lot, and so I was wondering, is this? I sort of feel like. Dravida answered my question a little bit about praying when you're praying to Krishna. It's like he's really there. So I feel like this is also very helpful, but probably on a different platform, different level of speaking openly about it with each other, about our faults. So can you describe or explain a little bit what is the mood or the attitude that we should have when we speak about our faults? Like how should we be most receptive to? How can we be most receptive to others' feedback and get the best results from sharing about our anarthas or our faults?
That's a very important question. We should be very submissive and humble, and when we approach a sadhu, we should try to get from him. We should try to get instructions in regards to sambandha gyan, in regards to learning of the science of devotional service, of the tattvas that I mentioned earlier. This is the Jiva Tattva, the Par Tattva, Sadhana and Saddhya Tattvas. All these tattvas, they should be studied very closely. So along with our sincere endeavors in spiritual life, we should also put or engage our intelligence in learning the scripture. It's very essential, very important. And how to do that, of course, we have a lot of questions if we sincerely have that desire to learn Srimad Bhagavatam, for example. In Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I also listed that myself. This anarthas, he explains in Bhajan Rahasya, there's anarthas. There are three classes of anarthas. The first one is thirst for material objects. This is craving for material objects in this world. or also craving for heavenly sensual enjoyment. And it's funny because if you think about the pleasures on heavenly pleasures, it's like what is it that would be attractive for a devotee? You can go to heavenly planets and enjoy maybe some nice food, wine, some sexual pleasures. What else that you can get from this experience? Yeah, you just maybe it's much stronger and it lasts longer. But ultimately, if you come in contact with devotional service, bhakti, or at least see someone, interact with someone who has come sincerely with that contact with pure devotional service, then you understand that it's actually just really it's nothing so attractive at all. So then desire for mystic yoga practice, then liberation in Brahman, that's also a thirst for material objects. Then the second is weakness of heart, and that is the attachment for trifling things unrelated to Kṛṣṇa. Deceit, envy of someone, especially when someone is progressing in spiritual life. Devotees, they should be very compassionate, and compassion means that I feel for someone. If a person is happy, then I should also be happy. And if a person is unhappy, I should be resembling that mood and uplift that person. Then longing for position and fame. That's another anarthas. We might perform devotional service, but if we don't have necessary guidance, or we don't reveal the mind, we don't try to confess, and especially when things come up, when we notice something, because by the mercy of sadhana bhakti, by the mercy of the holy name, we can notice that some things in the heart, they come up. So if we just ignore it, put it in the shelf, and not trying to reveal our mind to someone senior, and then they become an anartha, can become an obstacle. Then the aparadha, this is offenses to the holy name, to Kṛṣṇa, devotees, all the living entities, and so on. We recite them every morning. So there's some anarthas that we're dealing with. And remedy for this ignorance and anarthas, it is described here that the living entity will continue chanting namabhas as long as he remains ignorant of the basic facts concerning the jiva, the Lord, material nature, and mutual relationships with material nature, the Lord, because we should have proper relationship not only with Kṛṣṇa and devotees, but also with material nature, engaging paraphernalia, material nature in service of the Lord. However, when the serious practitioner takes shelter of a genuine guru and learns from the guru how to execute spiritual practices and chant the holy name with understanding of sambandha gyan, then he can remove all the obstructions, all the abhadras. So when the clouds and mist are dissipated, the brilliant sun of the name becomes manifest and bestows upon the devotee the treasure of love of God. And of course, it's nice. It sounds nice. This is great instructions, but how do we actually get there? So anything that we do in our life should be to remember Kṛṣṇa and to become attracted to chanting the holy name. And as far as I understand this, being engaged under the instruction or under guidance of spiritual master means that the spiritual master gives you the abhideya, the path of devotional practice. And that abhideya, that path, should be very, very strictly followed, very strictly without deviation. And we hear what we need to do. We need to worship the deities, make the temple attractive so we can preach nicely, and we can inspire others to take up spiritual life, distribute the mercy to them in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books, in the form of the holy name. So if we really want to please the holy name, we should seriously take up the mission. When these two things take place, when we sincere in chanting and when we serve the holy name by distributing books and giving the holy name to others, and then something can start moving. The wheels will start moving. And then the more we associate with the holy dham, with the holy name, with sadhus, the more our consciousness gets purified. And the more we understand how to properly conduct the path of Abhideya, the path of devotional service. There's something, I hope it's helpful. Hare Krishna. Anything else, or we'll conclude here? Anyone online?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Prabhu.
Do you mind reading again the last sentence of the translation?
Yes. I will read it. The last sentence of the translation. How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a brahmana?
Yes, that is the sentence. Thank you very much. You're most kind. Dvijamani Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Based on this sentence, my question would be, how do you explain that it's not good to cheat a brahmana? That would be my question.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, if you cheat someone, just generally speaking, dealing with ordinary things of affairs, it's also not good, simply because there's reactions. Karma, law of karma. But if you cheat a Brahman, the reaction will be more intense. Just like if you trying to serve a living entity, a jiva, that's nice, great. But if you serve a devotee of the Lord Viṣṇu, if you serve a Brahmana, then that actually attracts Kṛṣṇa. So anything done favorably for the service of devotees can give you a mercy of the Lord. It can help you advance spiritually. It can help you become attracted to the holy name, the message of Bhagavatam. And of course, how do we serve Brahmanas? We hear from them. That's the most important thing. We hear and ask questions. And as Bhagavatam, the 7th canto we were just reading, explains that, for example, for a householder, it's really important to feed a Brahmana, to invite a Brahmana to the house and feed, because it's considered that through the mouth of a Brahmana, Lord Viṣṇu is taking that food. And of course, we should cook food with Priti Lakshanam, with Bhakti. Not just put things together, but put Bhakti in that food. And not only for one preparation that we make, but throughout the preparation, for every single ingredient. If we're making a sabji, we should always constantly meditating on the Lord, and with great intention, cook the prasadam or bhoga for the Lord. Just like if we spread the salt all over the sabji, but if we just do it on one corner and don't mix it and don't put it in on the other corner, then it's not that good. So we should be always meditating, always keeping right consciousness when we prepare something for Kṛṣṇa. So this is what we understand. If we cheat a Brahmana, the reaction will be much more intense. And Vamanadev, actually, the only thing that he fears here is to insult the Brahmana, to insult Vamanadev. Anything else I'll do, but I'm not gonna insult the Vamana. I'll lose everything for him. I'm not gonna insult him. I already promised. He says, I am the grandson of great devotee Maharaj Prahlāda. How can I withdraw my promise? Because of greed for money. Money is not so important. Land is not so important. How can I behave like a cheater? I'll give everything to Vamanadev, because I already promised. And if you promise something, if you take it back, if you don't do it, that's offensive and unpleasant. That can impact the relationships with someone. So, something about that. Is that okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu?
Yes, that is beyond okay. And if I may, your answer just inspired me to say the following. It reminded me that Kṛṣṇa is the lover of the brahmanas and the cows.
Yeah.
And if you mistreat a brahmana, maybe a very severe reaction is on the way.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Prabhu. Spectacular answer to my question. Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.